Year 2. Back to Hogwarts. Neville returned to Hogwarts with more confidence than last year. He had friends now, real ones. Draco had practically declared himself Neville's right hand. Luna still hovered on the edges with cryptic comments, and half the school couldn't stop whispering about how the boy who lived had fried Quirrell without even raising a wand. But Harry Potter was still Harry Potter. Loud, bitter, and always spoiling for a fight. On the train back, Harry stuck his head into their compartment. "Enjoy your fame, Longbottom. Won't last forever." Neville tried to ignore him, but Draco sneered. "Funny. You're the only one who still thinks you're relevant, Potter." Harry stormed off, red-faced. Draco leaned back, satisfied. Neville, though, felt a gnawing unease. Whispering walls. Hogwarts didn't feel right that year. Shadows seemed longer, the walls colder. And then came the message in blood. "The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the air, beware!" The school erupted into chaos. Rumors swirled. Some said Slytherins were behind it. Others pointed at Neville himself. After all, he was the chosen one. Wasn't he supposed to stop things like this? Neville tried to brush it off, but even Draco noticed his friend's nerves fraying. "You don't have to prove yourself to anyone," Draco said. "They'll always talk." Let them. But Neville wasn't sure. The diary appears. It started with Ginny Weasley, a quiet, red-haired first year, barely noticed by anyone. But Neville spotted her clutching a small black diary at meals, scribbling into it like her life depended on the pages. What he didn't know, what nobody knew, was how she got it. The truth? Lucius Malfoy. At Flourish and Blots, during the summer, he had slipped it into her cauldron while sneering at her father. "Filthy blood traitors," he had muttered, masking the act as nothing more than petty cruelty. Ginny, oblivious, carried the cursed diary straight into Hogwarts. At first it seemed harmless. The diary listened. It answered her fears in smooth, perfect script, hyping her up when she felt invisible, validating her rants when her brothers teased her. It was like a secret bestie who never judged, never interrupted. But then it started asking for more. Just tiny things. "Tell me your secrets. Tell me what scares you. Let me write for you just once." Ginny thought she was venting, trauma dumping into a journal. But the diary was low-key, farming her soul. Each entry left her emptier, like she'd poured herself into the pages and couldn't get the pieces back. By the time the first attacks happened, Mrs. Norris petrified in the corridor, Ginny's eyes already looked hollow, like someone running on 1% battery. Neville and Draco investigate. While Harry strutted around accusing Slytherins, Neville and Draco took matters into their own hands. They spent nights sneaking through corridors, piecing together scraps of evidence. "This isn't random," Draco muttered. "Whoever's behind it knows old magic. This is planned." Neville nodded, but something tugged at him. The chamber, the snake rumors, the blood on the wall, it all tied back to Voldemort somehow. He could feel it. Trevor disappeared more than usual that term, once even reappearing dripping wet in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. Luna declared it a sign. Draco just groaned. "It's a toad, not a prophet." Into the chamber. When Ginny vanished, everything broke open. Her body was found missing, her diary dropped in the hall. Panic rippled through Hogwarts. Neville, Draco, and Luna followed the trail into the forbidden bathroom. Myrtle's wailing pointed them to the sink that wasn't just a sink. Neville, trembling, spoke the word that burned in his dreams. "Open." The pipes groaned, stone shifted, and the passage yawned wide. Inside the chamber, Ginny lay pale as death, and towering above her, the basilisk, eyes glowing, scales scraping stone. Draco froze. Luna whispered something wild about ancient destinies, but it barely registered. Neville moved. The sword didn't appear at first. He was shaking, empty-handed, staring at fangs long enough to swallow him whole. The basilisk lunged, smashing stone, its hiss rattling his skull. Neville dove, rolled, and scrambled for cover. Fawkes burst in, a literal fireball of chaos, pecking at the serpent's eyes. The chamber shook with every impact, dust raining down like snow. Neville's heart pounded. He wasn't fast, he wasn't chosen for bravery. He was just Neville. But when the sorting hat tumbled from above, spilling the silver sword of Gryffindor into his hands, something inside him snapped online. He gripped it, even as the basilisk roared. "Not today," Neville muttered under his breath, and when it lunged again, mouth wide, venom dripping, Neville stepped forward, not back. With a scream that cracked his throat, he drove the blade upward, through the roof of its mouth. The sound was unreal, like glass breaking, thunder exploding, and every nightmare shrieking at once. The basilisk convulsed, body smashing against the walls until the stone cracked. Blood spilled black and steaming across the floor. Neville collapsed beside the carcass, sword clattering free. His arm burned. The fang had grazed him, but before he could fade, Fawkes's tears dripped down, cool and saving. And then, the diary. It burst open with a scream, Tom Riddle's shadow ripping like glitching code, his face shredding into smoke until there was nothing. Ginny gasped, alive, her lungs clawing for air. Cracks in friendship. Back in the hospital wing, Ginny wept into her hands. She confessed it all, the diary, the whispers, the way she couldn't stop writing. Neville turned to Draco. "Your father gave it to her." He knew what it was. Draco stiffened. "You don't know that?" "I saw it in her memory," Neville snapped. "He slipped it in her cauldron. He put her in danger." For the first time, Draco didn't have a comeback. His jaw tightened, his eyes narrowed, but he said nothing. That silence was worse than anger. From then on, Neville felt the space widening. Draco was still his friend, but something sharp and unspoken now lived between them. Year-end wrap, the school hailed Neville again as the hero who saved Hogwarts. Harry seethed, forced once more into the shadows of someone else's spotlight. Ginny never met Neville's eyes without gratitude and shame. But Neville couldn't shake the look on Draco's face in the hospital wing. Pride, hurt, and betrayal, all tangled together. The boy who lived had survived the Chamber of Secrets, but his first true friendship was starting to fracture.